I got it! When I first heard about Dave being trapped in a maze...
1, 2, 3, 4!
I built a labyrinth. Can you believe it?
Dave is trapped in a cardboard maze in his living room and he can't get out.
Welcome to Dave Made a Minute, the podcast where a whole bunch of us are exploring the film Dave Made a Maze 1 minute at a time. The twist. Many of the participants have never seen the film. Some don't even know what film they're sampling. They get their minutes and they tackle them as they see fit. Here's your host from the Groundhog Day Project and Michael Myers Minute, Robert Black.
Minute 27, Brynn finds everyone else and Gordon hands it up for the camera. To tackle Minute 27, we have me. And I've got an interview with Timothy Nordwind, who plays Greg.
You come home, there's a giant maze in your living room. You're like, what the? There's a giant maze in my living room. I've heard of people rearranging the furniture, but this is wackadoodle crazy. Give me a sense of that.
This doesn't make any sense.
The problem? The promise to myself? By solutions to problem.
It's like a fucking cocktail party in here.
I get a few words from you before you go.
Minute 27 begins as Brynn screams. Greg has just been impaled on cardboard spindles. And behind the scenes, Brynn is hit by spray string standing in for, well, it's not even really behind the scenes so much as inside the maze. Inside the maze, Greg's blood, or his guts I suppose, is/are spray string. Just like Jane's blood was red confetti. And streamers. I can't forget the streamers. As I record this, I don't know yet if the folks recording for Minute 26 noticed the triangle theme in this chamber of the maze. Cardboard triangles on the walls, triangles all over Greg's shirt, Brynn's triangle earrings. The cardboard spindles are conical, not cylindrical. And this brings my mind to the Bermuda Triangle, regardless of if the production is just giving each room a particular visual flavor. We'll get to the serial killer room later in this minute. All these friends of Dave's, and those 2 Flemish tourists, have entered this space and may never return to the real world. Someone who did return to the real world is Timothy Nordwind, who plays Greg.
So what is your affiliation with the film?
I have no official affiliation.
Oh, okay.
What happened is last December, I blogged for almost a week. I think it was like 7 days in a row about the movie. And whoever runs the Twitter, either Bill or John, noticed and like retweeted some of my stuff. And so when I was going to do this podcast, I emailed Bill, like just on a whim, see if like he'd be up for an interview. And he not only offered to do an interview, he like emailed other crew members and other people and told them to talk to me.
Oh, that's cool.
And then with the movies by minute thing that this is each episode is about a minute of the movie.
Oh, got it.
And for this movie, instead of doing it all myself, I gave like random minutes to other people I know that are podcasters.
Oh, okay.
And so they get minutes of the movie out of context and have to talk about it.
Got it. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Minute 27 is right after Greg died.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, like the minute begins with Greg dead and continues from there.
So I take it you're a huge fan of the film then?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah. How many times have you seen it?
I watched it for my blogs, I think it was 7 days in a row. I watched it a few times since then, and then I've watched parts of it almost every day recently to work on this.
Okay.
Because like take notes and double check the scripting because people wanted like transcripts of their minutes, and so I'd send them the dialogue. And...
Right.
So, too much.
That's cool.
But I still like it.
Yeah.
You pay close enough attention to a movie and you get this point where it gets to be too much and then it becomes like a beloved comfort thing.
Right.
For me. Like, for my blog, I watched the movie Groundhog Day every day for a year. That's how I started it.
I'm like that. I remember in college, I watched the movie Clueless pretty much every night before I went to bed for a year.
Nice.
And that was I had a girlfriend at the time too.
Huh.
And she did not break up with me, which I thought was looking back on it now, it's like, oh man, I should have never let her go.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, but I think I'm especially like that with the movie Flash Gordon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
That's my favorite movie of all
couple
time.
people I know are doing Flash Gordon Minute. They're almost done. I think they have like 5 minutes of the movie left.
Oh, really?
I was a guest on 3 episodes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
So
it
what
was great.
did you talk about?
I guested right as Flash had just gotten on the rocket cycle,
Yep.
and Dale had her fight with Aura. And
Uh-huh.
Ming's, like, that, his harem or whatever you call it.
Right, like,
And so we talked about, like, the different filmmaking choices, the scripting, because Dale is a horribly rude person in that minute.
right.
Like, she's like, that's what makes humans better than Mongo people.
Right. That's cool. That's cool.
But you can break down like behind the scenes details or talk about just what it looks like on screen or get into like philosophical debates.
Mhm.
My other podcast right now is about the movie Halloween, and like minute 17 I just had a long rant about fate. And
Right.
because that's what they talk about in the classroom, and it's a big theme of the movie.
Right.
How did you get in Dave Made a Maze?
So I've known Bill Watterson, the director.
Yeah.
For oh my gosh, probably close to 20 years now.
Oh wow.
He went to school with my bandmate Damien.
Okay.
And I play in OK Go, and
Right.
yeah, Bill and Damien went to college together, and right after they all got out of college, we started our own bands. Bill had this band called Uptown Sinclair,
Okay.
and we started OK Go. Bill was in Cleveland, and we were in Chicago, so we'd go play shows in Cleveland with Uptown Sinclair, and Bill would come to Chicago and play with us there, and we just started, we just became really good friends. I mean, Bill's always been an incredibly funny, incredibly talented guy with a lot of vision.
Yeah.
Even as a younger man, he's not that old, but even as a younger man, he just always sort of, he's just really funny, and a really talented bass player, by the way.
Nice.
And I remember there was one evening in particular, probably when this had to have been like 15 years ago now. We were playing in Cleveland with Bill's band, and afterwards he invited us. His parents had a house on a lake, and his parents were out of town, so he invited us to come stay there overnight. And that night, I remember none of us were tired, and we got to this great lake house, and so I did what I think anyone would do. I went upstairs into Bill's mom's closet, and I raided her wardrobe. and I came back downstairs in this in this very well curated number of Bill's mom's clothing, and I was like, we should make a movie. And so that night we stayed up all night. We were on Lake Erie, so we were like, oh, we should make a horror movie and call it Erie,
Nice.
And so we stayed up all night long. We had a friend who was on tour with us at the time, documenting everything. So we had a camera, we had the tape, and we made this horror movie that used all found lighting, and we didn't edit it. We cut it. We planned the cuts out as we did it,
Nice.
And we made this great little movie. And I remember we played in Cincinnati the next night, and we were in the middle of our show, and we started telling the audience that we made this awesome movie last night. And we were like, do you guys want to see it? And everybody said, yeah. And we asked them because we knew there was a projector in the house. So they were like, yeah, we had a screen in back of us. So we were like, great. So we stopped the entire show, and we got the camera out, and we played everybody the movie. It was a big hit. And it was clear that our future was super bright. And the next night we played in New York City, and our friend Scott, he filmed the show, and afterwards he was like freaking out. He looked like white as a ghost, and I was like, what happened, man? What's wrong with you? And he's like, I don't want to tell you this, but I recorded over Erie tonight.
Oh no.
When I I thought I had switched out the tapes, but I didn't. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, what? I was livid because I was really, really proud of this film, as we all were. And it was like, just, looking back on it now, there are just so many awesome people involved that, like, we were just a bunch of goofy guys.
Yeah.
Messing around, and it's just like, as it turns out, like, Bill was in this, the band was in it, like our friend Scott, who now does really awesome film stuff, was in it, and it's just like, I just can't believe, and he recorded over the whole thing, so it just lives on in folklore. But anyways, I remember that was maybe the first time I had ever worked with Bill in any sort of like cinematic nature. And then cut to like 12, 13 years later, he called me up and said, hey, I'm making a movie. And it's a world made out of cardboard. And it's kind of like all our favorite movies of the 80s. Do you want to be in it? And I was like, oh my God, sign me up.
Nice.
Sign me up. Yeah. And I remember he had been talking about Dave Made a Maze for a really long time, actually. They were working on the script for several years, I think, before they got to the point of actually being able to shoot it. So I kind of I knew what he was. I did kind of know what he was talking about when he called me, but I knew what he was talking about when he called me, but I was just so psyched that they'd actually gotten to the point where they could shoot. Yeah, so that's a really long-winded answer to your question of how. Yeah.
It's a good one.
How I got involved with Dave Made a Maze. But yeah, that's how. And luckily, remember at the time, while he was filming it, I was doing a video with OK Go in Russia, actually, where we were doing a video on zero gravity, shooting it in zero gravity. And
nice.
So I remember the days I came back to shoot were right after I had gotten back from that. So I was super whacked out. Because we on the video, on the OK Go video, we had to wear this anti-nausea medicine called scopolamine.
Yeah.
And it really messed me up. Like, it gave me blurred vision and like no appetite.
Oh wow.
It was very successful in fooling my vestibular system into believing that everything was cool. But like other than that, yeah. But other than that, it was like I was just feeling really crazily out of sorts. So I remember getting to set and just being like, whoa, like and that's like, I can imagine you could get, maybe some sets don't feel as crazy and surreal as this one, but like it's just like I already felt crazy and surreal, and then I walked in and it's just like an entire set of like cardboard. Yeah, I was like, whoa, this is nuts, man. Life is crazy.
And one that matches your clothing.
Yeah, right. So, anyways, yeah, that's how I got involved.
So, how long were you in production?
I was there for 2 days.
Okay.
Yeah, which was not much. I think they shot for.
They shot for around 20.
Around 20? Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds about right. So I was there for a very small portion of it. And I can't quite remember exactly where they were in like the shooting schedule, but they were definitely in it. They were like way in it. Like it looked like they hadn't left.
Well, you're in the apartment. That should have been early.
Yeah, but they were going back and forth with stuff. Like there was the apartment was built, but then next to the apartment was like they were putting up cardboard sets and tearing them down the next day to put up the next one, kind of thing. So yeah, I think they were like going back and forth on stuff. Okay. And yeah, so I just kind of remember thinking like, man, this is crazy, and these guys have been living here since they, like, as soon as they got in, I don't think they like ever left. It looked like
some of them,
yeah, like really, really and truly, like they had it looked like they had like glazed over cardboard eyes or something like that. Like they were in it. They were really in it.
Yeah. So you have, let me see, you have 8 lines of dialogue.
8 lines of dialogue? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That sounds about right.
Listeners, you would know he was in minute 12, minute 15, and minute 26 is when he was talking. Mm-hmm. You're in a few more minutes than that in the background, here and there, but
Yeah.
and then this one, minute 27, starts with your dead body.
Yeah.
With a nice. I've seen some pictures of the apparatus thing they had with the spikes and stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's the first time I've ever like died on camera. So I was like really looking forward to that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just like, it's just cool that they did it all with practical effects.
Yeah.
That's just such a fun way to deal with things, I think.
Yeah, almost everything in the film is practical.
Yeah, which I have just so much respect for.
Yeah.
Because that's the long road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That really is kind of the long road to getting what you want in a shot, I feel like.
But it definitely gives you a more interesting look.
It's more interesting, it's more
the
unique.
Actors are seeing those cardboard walls, even though, I mean, sets aren't complete, but it's still, they don't have all the walls and everything.
Yeah, and it gives you like a real sense of theater, I think, in a way that other films tend not to, especially these days.
Right.
But yeah, there is even if you don't know what you're looking at, I still feel like there's always a subconscious feeling when you're watching practical effects of like you feel much more like you are watching an event that happened right there.
Yeah.
Which I think is, there's always drama in that, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a bizarre fantasy made of cardboard, but it feels more real.
Yeah, and that's cool, and it's relatable. It's relatable in a lot of ways. Cause it's sort of like, that's, I don't know. I would imagine a lot of people, at least a lot of people who listen to your podcast, probably spent a lot of time as growing up, playing out scenes. A lot like what you see in Dave Made a Maze.
Yeah.
What I mean? And like,
they have their fantasy, have their different dreams and things they try.
Yeah. I remember I used to take like rubber bands and then put pens in them, and then I would play Spider-Man, where like the pens were like
to shoot them at things. Okay.
The web shooters, so you'd be like, like that was the sound I made. And nothing came out of the pen. But it's like, I think if I saw that in a film now, I could suspend my disbelief enough to just be like, yep, that's what's happening. He's like, I know what that rubber band and pen is supposed to be,
Yeah, because you've been there.
Because I've been there, and obviously they do a better job than that in Dave Made a Maze, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, it's like, I just love the imagination.
Yeah.
And the playfulness.
It's like 40 minutes from now, it's like the center of the maze where it's the sheets hanging around instead of all the cardboard. It's like the kind of fort I would have made as a kid, hang them over the dining room chairs and just crawl under there.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Now, you were only on set for 2 days, so you probably didn't have a lot of this, but where's the weirdest place you found a bread roll?
A bread roll?
Yeah. Maybe they didn't get you.
I didn't get any bread
rolls.
rolls.
That's too bad.
I'm sorry. I mean,
okay.
I maybe had at like outside at craft services, kind of, at lunch.
I guess maybe because you were only there 2 days, they didn't go after you.
They didn't go after me.
Adam Bush mostly. He would take all the extra bread rolls every day and just hide them in people's bags and around the set.
Adam would?
Yeah.
what a prankster.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I wasn't there long enough, I guess. I have a feeling I missed out on a lot of the shenanigans. Yeah, I bet there was a lot of crazy stuff that I was not privy to.
So what was the craziest thing you were privy to?
Well, I remember walking in on Stephanie Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember walking in on Stephanie Allen when she was getting her makeup to be like the cardboard version of herself.
Right.
And I didn't know she was doing that. I didn't know that was happening. And it was really, it looked really like, it actually looked really scary. I was like, what is going on? What are you doing to her? And it took me a second because she was being so still. It took me a second to realize that was really her. You know, like, and that, I mean, that's what was like, that was what was really cool about being there, even for the short amount of time I was there, is just like, you know, I mean, the cardboard sets were like weird and wonderful enough, you know, but then you like walk in on someone who's getting, you know, made to look like they just got turned into cardboard, basically.
Right.
You're like, man, this is crazy. So that was probably the weirdest thing I saw in my short time there.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
If you don't expect that look she's got is a bit much, yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, because I think at some point she managed to say like, "Hi, Tim," like in all that. I was like, "Oh God!" I was like, "That's you." Hey, what's going on? But yeah, she was great. She was really, really awesome. That was the first time I had met her.
Wait, the first time you met her was when she was in the cardboard?
No, not when she was in the cardboard.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. No, the first time I met her was on that set.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that was like the second day I saw her. I was like, "What are they doing to you?"
Listeners will find out in about 30 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
They'll hear about Cardboard Brynn quite a bit.
Yeah, she was really funny. She was really, really funny. I became a fan of hers in those 2 days.
Nice. So what do you think of the movie? It's as a, like the final result.
I'm trying to. Sorry. That's a big.
The
question.
pause. I was like, "Oh, he hates it." Okay.
Oh no! Sorry. Edit this part
I will.
to a quick like answer. No, I mean it's. Gosh, I mean, first and foremost, I just think it's just such a feat, such a brilliant feat.
Yeah.
And I think it's the kind of thing that, I mean, it's already gotten a pretty wonderful reception, you know, but I think it's the kind of thing that as time goes on, people will come to appreciate it more and more.
I hope so. Yeah.
I think so. You know, I think as generations of film enthusiasts come to find Dave Made a Maze and realize over and over again that this is all done practically. Yeah. You know, not to mention that it's just a really fun story.
Yeah.
And it's a super fun watch, you know. But I think what's, I don't know, I think what's going to sort of cement its place in whatever sort of weird zone it lives in, you know, is the fact that it was such a behemoth undertaking. Yeah. In so many ways. And it's also, you know, I mean, I feel like one thing you don't necessarily, the story they don't tell on screen that I think is also worth knowing is just how incredibly hard they worked to get that film made. Yeah. You know, I mean, it just really is such a, I don't know, a testament to Bill and his like whole crew, you know, that it's just like, come hell or high water, they were so hell-bent on, you know, on making this, and making it the way that they wanted to, and then making it on a budget that most people wouldn't have been able to do it on.
Yeah, and a tight schedule. for most of it.
And the tight scheduling of it, and the fact that they were able to get the people they got for it, who are all amazing. It just really is just an incredible feat.
Yeah.
And that's that's the part of the story that I think you have to dig into, but I think it's the kind of film you watch and then want to dig into it, much in the same way that I dig into Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
so many movies from the 80s are like that for me. It's like I've watched them so many times.
Mm-hmm.
I love, like, if someone's doing a podcast about one of those movies, I'm like, I want to be a guest. I want to talk about something in great detail.
Yeah.
And obsess.
For sure. And there's so much to obsess over in Dave Made a Maze, I think.
Yeah. I mean, even just the story alone, it's simple and like thoughtful fantasy, but it's really about like deeper issues. Like Dave has a problem,
Yeah.
And Annie shouldn't, she should be like dumping the guy, you think maybe at the beginning, but that's not how it goes. She loves him. She understands him. They stick together. And then Gordon's got his thing.
Yeah.
Even Greg, he's barely in it, but you get an idea he's an actual person,
Yeah, he's a weirdo. It's true. And I mean, I think, I think the idea of like having a lot of ideas and never finishing any of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just that idea alone, is one that so like a lot of people can really relate to. And, so watching a film about a guy who, finally does something and then gets completely trapped,
right, and gets stuck.
It's like, and it just completely turns on him. It's like, is such a funny concept, but also kind of, I don't know, a relatable one in a lot of ways too.
And now back to minute 27. Second 5, we're in the serial killer room. Lots of pages ripped out of books on the wall. Strings connecting one thing to another like the wall in a very different film of thriller. Which Dave Made a Maze is sometimes. Sort of. But it is also so many other things. Comedy, wacky adventure. There are elements of a heartfelt romance underneath some of these minutes. Elements of horror as well. But with spray string and red streamers to separate us from just how awful so much that is going on actually is. Minute 27, Dave still hasn't shown up. Though we did see him in that flash forward at minutes 1 and 2. Annie, why did Dave build booby traps? Gordon mansplains a bit, while behind him it looks like Harry is examining the scattered pages on the walls. Gordon, because it's a labyrinth. If it didn't have booby traps, it would just be a series of articulated hallways. Second 11, the angle changes, and if we were closer, we'd see there's a map on the wall behind Annie and Gordon and Boom Operator. None of them look at that map. Annie, I don't care what it is. I want to know why it's killing people. And that got Harry's attention. He turns away from the wall and comes toward Annie and Gordon. Harry, okay, that's great. Could you rephrase that to more directly address whether what's happening here is real? And we hear Brynn before we see her. Second 20, she enters the room, screaming. Brynn, I want to get out of here. Second 23, we're on the wide shot again, only it's not that wide. The serial killer room is small, but we've got Harry, Annie, Gordon, Boom Operator, Cameraman, and Brynn in this shot. Boom Operator, as usual, is quicker with his equipment than Cameraman is. Annie, Brynn, are you okay? Second 24, angle on Brynn. Cameraman doesn't have his camera raised, but it is on, and the light is bright on Brynn. Brynn, no, I am not okay. I want to get out of this stupid maze. And to Cameraman, she says, stop. Second 28, Harry goes and pats Gordon on the back to lead him into the shot. Gordon obliges. And despite the direction from Harry, despite Greg having just died, the line here is so casual and flirty as to be cute. Like, no matter how hard life can get, no matter what it throws at you, you still gotta have a little room to flirt. Second 30, Cameraman's angle on Gordon. Gordon, hey, you look nice, how are you? Brynn is confused, obviously. What? And so should we be confused, as there's an in-camera jump cut to Cameraman's angle on Brynn, as Harry jumps into frame to give Gordon some direction? Harry. Second 35, another impossible jump cut, and we're on Gordon again. Gordon, look, we don't have time for this, Brynn. We are trapped inside some sort of a death maze. Second 40. Angle on the room again. Harry moves to a better vantage point to see the action. Gordon shaking Brynn, except Harry should really stay to the left to remain out of the cameraman's shot. Actually, as he does this a couple times in a row, he seems to be actively trying to stay out of the shot by moving back and forth, but I would think his movement would make him more of a background distraction if he just remained still and happened to be in the shot. Cameraman does move the camera back and forth through the next few lines, from Gordon to Brynn and back. Meanwhile, Annie is examining the wall on the left, and I wish I had some photos of the inside of this room. I know most of this is probably completely random, but maybe it isn't. Maybe this is bits and pieces from some book about mythology, about the labyrinth on Crete. Bits about King Minos, maybe. About Daedalus. Gordon, and we need to find our friends and get the fuck out of here. Brynn, okay, why are you shaking me? Gordon, I'm shaking you because I am brimming with emotion. Second 47, cameraman's angle on Gordon, and sure enough, Harry is in the background. Second 48, Brynn slaps Gordon and we're back to the wide shot again. Brynn, get it together, Gordon. Second 50, angle on Annie taking charge. Annie, okay, enough. Annie goes to Brynn. Brynn, what happened? And Brynn explains. A bunch of spikes hit Greg and his guts splashed all over me. Second 56, angle on Annie as she takes this in. Okay. Okay. And the minute ends.
And then I could probably disarm all the traps. And then we can finish this maze. Who is with me?
That was me, Robert Black with Michael Myers Minute, taking a minute 27 of Dave Made a Maze. Thanks again to Timothy Nordwind. And an extra shout out to director Bill Watterson and lead sculptor Michael Murnane, who I met in person at the Hive Gallery in downtown LA this past Saturday, where Dave Made a Maze props were on display. I will be back in minute 35. Next time, on Dave Made a Minute, surprise, we've got Liz Whitaker of Mean Girls Minute along with Allison Grimm back with us early, taking on minute 28.
Thank you for listening to Dave Made a Minute. Intro dialogue snippets were taken from Dave Made a Maze, directed by Bill Watterson, written by Bill Watterson and Steve Sears, and produced by John Charles Meyer. Intro music is Diversion by The Equals, featured in the film Dave Made a Maze, and Life Cycle of a Match by Parvis Decree. Outro music is Leaving This God-Forsaken Place and Her Presence is Strong Here by Parvis Decree. Dave Made a Minute is a production of Lemming Drop Studio and all other featured podcast producers. You can find more content at lemmingdrops.com. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Dave Made a Minute. If you like what you hear, throw us a rating and review on your podcatcher of choice, and check out all of the participants' other shows to spread the love around. Again, thank you for listening.
As long as we're all working together, this is going to be fine. It's going to be great.
I need you to notify the families of everyone who died here today.
Totally. Wait, what?